After setting the basic information of your document, such as the title, your author name, and your supervisor, you will want to set up the structure, meaning how many chapters you have and what they are called. If you scroll down in main.tech a little bit, you can see that there are already quite some include statements present that give you a sort of predefined structure that just comes from the template. It has no special meaning. It is derived from the tutorial document, but the chapter files themselves, they're all empty. So they just give you an information on how the system works, but there are in no way meaningful chapter names that are usually found in a thesis. But you can obviously adapt those things to your needs. If you look at the first three include statements, they are in the so-called front matter. So they are from the front part, and they usually appear at the very beginning of your document. So we scroll down a little bit, we can see a preface, an abstract, and a German Kurzfassung. And those are the three documents that are included here. You can find them in the front folder or in the front directory here. There's the preface, there is the abstract, and there is the Kurzfassung. And if you, for example, look into the preface, you can see that it was empty. There is just one chapter command here, but nothing more. And the abstract is also just a one-liner that you can see here. Going back to the main document, after that starts the main matter, and this is the main part of your thesis. This is where you want to include the actual chapters that make up the content of your thesis. They can be found in the chapters folder, and they're called Introduction. Let's scroll down a little bit. Writing a thesis, working with LaTeX, figures, tables, source code, mathematical elements, equations, and algorithms, using literature and other resources, printing the manuscript, and closing remarks. So you can see those are these 8 include files here, and you can see the corresponding tech files in there. So if I click on introduction, this is the introduction chapter. It is included first, so it gets to be chapter 1. And if you want to change those files, you can do that at any time. So introduction might just stay the same because usually every thesis has an introduction. But let's go back to the main file. We can see the second chapter here is called the thesis. It's the one here, and it's called writing a thesis. It's the one we see here. But let's say this chapter is not called writing a thesis, but it's our state-of-the-art chapter. So I'm just gonna call it state of the art. And this is where I'll present my literature findings and everything that's important, that research that I have come across. So I'm changing the chapter name, and I'm also changing the label. The label is for referencing to the chapter, so I'm not going to call it the thesis, but I'm call it state of, let's get capital letters, state of the art. So I can reference to that chapter whenever I need it. So once I save that, you can see that Overleaf is starting to recompile our document, and the chapter is called state of the art. So that's perfect. We gave our chapter a different name, and it's being reflected here. It's also being reflected in the content section in the table of contents, state of the art. But what you can still see here is that the chapter is called, or the file itself is still called, the thesis.tech. And yes, you can keep that. It doesn't matter. It has no effect on your final PDF document. But in the sense of a clean working environment, and in the sense of that you find your stuff again, it might be a good idea to rename your file as well. So what you can do here in Overleaf, and that also works for a local setup, you just do it on in your local folder, in your local disk. You just go here and you rename the file. And in this case, I'm not going to call it the thesis.tech, but I'm going to call it state of the art.tech. So I've renamed my file, and there's just one thing that I need to do here. I need to go to the main file, and you can see here it is still included as the thesis. We don't need to add the extension here. But if I renamed my file and if I'm going to recompile the document, you will see that Overleaf will not find it anymore because obviously we named it and it's gone. So it's called here Working with LaTeX. It left out chapter number 2 and it immediately made the chapter number 3, which is called Working with LaTeX, to chapter 2 because the file is simply gone. So we need to tell our main document, hey, listen, this is not called the thesis, it is called state of the art. You can add the extension as Overleaf suggests, but you don't have to. And once you do that and save, you can see that Overleaf is recompiling again. And now our chapter is back and we have the correct name. So go ahead whenever you want to add new files, you can, or you want to rename your files, you can do that. If you need to remove one of the files, say you don't need 8 chapters. Let's say I don't need the chapter printing, so I can just go here and I can just delete this file here, delete it. Go back to my main file and just remove this include line and the chapter is gone. I can recompile and I'm now left with 7 chapters. That's usually enough for most theses. Should you need to add a file, you can always do that by clicking right on the chapters folder here. You can say new file and you can call it mynewfile.tech. Maybe add a chapter command, my new chapter, and then the file is here. And to include it in your main file, you know the drill, just go there. Let's say we want to include it here as the second to last. I'm just going to use an include statement. Grammarly is in the way, I'm sorry. It's in the chapters folder. It is called my new file. And once I've added that, you can see if I scroll down and wait until the document is finished. Here's chapter 7. Nope, it's not chapter 7. Closing remarks. Chapters. Yeah, my new file. There it is. Then, I'm sorry, typo, yeah. Then you can see now it's there. Here is my new chapter 7. Okay, so you need to make sure, and my typo obviously has shown that, make sure to type your folders and file names correctly, otherwise LaTeX can't find them. But once you've done that, you can always add files, remove them. You're free to change the structure as you please. One final thing, there is an appendix section which includes appendices. So here's an appendix A, B, C, and D. And if you need those appendices, just go ahead. You can find them in the back folder, in the back directory. You can always use these and then rename them, change them to your liking. If you don't need any appendices, just remove the include statements. You can also delete or comment out the appendix command here that just tells LaTeX, hey, this is where the appendices start. And that's all you need to do. So should you need those, change them to your liking and you're good to go. In the very end of the document, you can see there is this print box here. This one is included at the very bottom of the document. This is just to make sure if you print the document that you don't scale it in any way. For a digital submission, this print box is usually not needed. You can safely remove or comment out the include statement here to have this print size box removed. This is a bit of a leftover from the days where all theses were always printed and you wanted to make sure that it wasn't scaled in any weird way. But for digital submissions, you definitely don't need this print box. So just removing the include statement also removes this one page. Now you know how to organize your chapters and your files. You can do that in any way you want. Give the thesis exactly the structure that you need. And once you've got the hang of that, we can start looking at how to create content and how to structure your content in the next video.